The Starry Melody. On the edge of a quiet, snow-dusted village, there stood an old, abandoned town square. At its center was a forgotten piano, its wood weathered and its keys yellowed with time. The villagers walked past it every day, paying it little attention, except for one boy, Elias. Elias was 12 years old, small for his age, with unruly black hair and a pair of bright green eyes that seemed to hold the world's questions. He discovered the piano by accident one winter evening, drawn by its lonely silhouette under the silver moonlight. When he pressed one of the keys, a faint, trembling sound emerged, like the ghost of a melody waiting to be found. From that day on, Elias visited the piano every evening. Though it was out of tune, and many of the keys refused to make any sound at all, he loved it fiercely. For Elias, it wasn't just a piano, it was a bridge to a memory. Elias's mother, Clara, had passed away when he was only 6. He couldn't remember her face clearly, but he remembered her music. Every night before bed, she had wound up a tiny music box, its delicate tune filling their small home with warmth. The melody had been her lullaby, a song filled with stars and whispers of dreams. But the music box had stopped working years ago, and Elias couldn't bring himself to throw it away. Instead, he carried its melody in his heart, determined to one day recreate it. He believed that if he could play the song again, it might feel as though his mother were near, if only for a fleeting moment. The old piano, broken as it was, became his only companion in this dream. The Stranger in the Night. One snowy evening, as Elias was struggling with the piano's broken keys, a soft glow appeared in the square. Startled, he looked up to see an old man approaching, carrying a small lantern. The man's face was lined with years of sorrow and wisdom, and his eyes glimmered like the frost on the rooftops. "You come here often, don't you?" the man asked, his voice as gentle as the falling snow. Elias nodded. "I'm trying to play a song, but the piano's broken." The man smiled faintly. "It's not just the piano, is it?" Elias hesitated, his hands resting on the worn keys. "It's a song my mother used to play. I can hear it in my head, but I can't make it sound right." The man sat down beside him, setting his lantern on the ground. He placed his weathered hands on the keys, testing a few notes. The sounds that emerged were uneven and fractured, but there was something in them, a quiet emotion that stirred Elias's heart. "Sometimes," the man said, "music isn't about perfection. It's about what's left unsaid, the silence between the notes." Elias didn't understand, but he watched intently as the man began to play. The melody was faint, almost hesitant, but Elias recognized it immediately. It was the song from his mother's music box. "How do you know that song?" Elias whispered, his voice trembling. The man didn't answer directly. Instead, he paused, looking up at the stars. "It's a song of love and longing, a song for those who are far away but never truly gone." Before Elias could ask more, the lantern flickered, and the man stood up. "Keep playing, boy," he said softly. "The stars are listening." Then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, the man disappeared into the night, leaving Elias alone with the piano. A melody for the stars. The next evening, Elias returned to the square. Snow had blanketed the ground, and the air was sharp with winter's chill, but he didn't care. He sat at the piano and began to play, his fingers trembling on the keys. At first, the notes were clumsy and uneven. Some keys didn't respond at all, while others sounded hollow. But Elias didn't stop. He played the melody in his heart, filling in the missing notes with his imagination. As he played, something extraordinary happened. The wind, gentle but persistent, seemed to carry his music through the village. The notes, imperfect as they were, rose into the sky, weaving between the stars. The villagers, hearing the faint, haunting melody, paused in their routines. They gathered in the square, drawn by the boy's music. Some brought lanterns, their warm light illuminating the snow. Others closed their eyes, letting the melody wash over them. Elias played on, tears streaming down his face. He could feel something, an invisible presence, warm and comforting, like a mother's embrace. When the final note faded into the night, the square was silent. The villagers began to clap softly, their eyes filled with wonder. Elias looked up at the sky, now glittering with countless stars. For the first time in years, he smiled. He knew, deep in his heart, that his mother had heard his song. Epilogue. Elias continued to play the piano every night, even as the seasons changed. The villagers, once indifferent to the old piano, began to gather regularly, listening to the boy's starry melodies. The piano remained broken, but it didn't matter. Its music carried something far more powerful than perfection. And somewhere, in the endless expanse of the night sky, a mother's love shone brightly, watching over her son. A song that never ends. Years passed, and Elias grew older, but his nightly visits to the piano never stopped. Over time, he became known as the starry musician of the village. Travelers from distant towns came to hear his music, enchanted by the way his melodies seemed to carry whispers of longing, joy, and love. The piano, though still broken, became a symbol of hope. Villagers began leaving small gifts around it, flowers, candles, and sometimes notes thanking Elias for his music. They would tell him stories of how his songs reminded them of someone they had lost or a dream they had almost forgotten. One evening, as the first signs of spring began to melt the snow, Elias found a small package on the piano. It was wrapped in simple cloth, with no name attached. Inside was a small, delicately crafted music box. He wound it up carefully, and to his amazement, it played the exact melody he had been trying to recreate all those years. The sound was clear and pure, just as he remembered it from his childhood. Tears welled up in Elias's eyes as he realized the gift must have come from the old man who had appeared that snowy night so long ago. But no matter how much he asked around the village, no one seemed to know who the man was or where he had gone. That night, Elias placed the music box on the piano and played alongside it, creating a duet of starry melodies. The villagers gathered as usual, but this time they sang softly, their voices blending with the music. The square was filled with warmth and light, as if the stars themselves had descended to join in the song. Though Elias never saw the old man again, he felt his presence in every note he played. And whenever he looked up at the sky, he imagined his mother smiling down at him, her love eternal and unbroken. The music became a part of the village, passed down from generation to generation. The old piano stood proudly in the square, a reminder that even broken things can create beauty. And so, Elias's melody lived on, not just in the notes he played, but in the hearts of everyone who heard it, a song that never truly ended.